Please come on in. Find us. I see. For anyone who's speaking, if you would please come to the jury box, that would be great. Well, good afternoon. I'm Paul Litton. I'm the Dean of Mizzou Law. It's truly an honor to welcome you all here today for this very special day. What an incredible gathering of distinguished leaders of our state's bar, of our state's judiciary, of leaders of our state's flagship university and system, and of course, a very special welcome to Marcy and Edna Mae Graham. We're all here today to honor Marcy's decades of service to the university, to the state of Missouri, to his clients, and to the many lawyers he has mentored and inspired directly and indirectly by his virtuous example. This distinguished audience by itself is a testament to the impact Marcy Graham has had on our state, its legal community, and on Mizzou. When Don Downing called me last year to express his intent to find a way to honor Marcy, I had not yet met or interacted with Marcy. Yet still, if someone had asked me to name a lawyer or simply a person who is universally admired, I am sure one of the names that would have come to my mind was Marcy Graham's. I had heard for years stories and descriptions of his professionalism, his kindness, his thoughtfulness, and other virtues. And it's a privilege to take part in today's event honoring him. The space we're dedicating to Marcy is one of our most used rooms in Hulston Hall. It's used for classes, seminars, meetings, lunches, and other gatherings. And I can tell you in the past, it's not a room that many professors had enjoyed teaching in. It was originally part of the law library. It was dark, not designed as a classroom. We've now been able to refurbish and refurnish it. And I am not only excited now to teach in there now, but I will be proud to teach in the Maurice Marcy Graham classroom. Following this event, I invite everyone to join us upstairs in the room formerly known as 332A for refreshments and to get a sense of the new space. And now I'd like to start the event by welcoming former University of Missouri System Curator and Mizzou Law Class of 1982 alum, Don Downing, to say a few words.
Let me just sort of walk you through the process that led us here today. Beginning a couple of years ago, I started receiving, and many of my colleagues at Gray Ritter Graham started receiving inquiries from lawyers across the state of Missouri on how can we honor Marcy? Everybody wanted to honor Marcy but couldn't figure out the best way. Many ideas were floated. Some people actually submitted very detailed written proposals on how to honor Marcy. So we took those to Marcy and said, okay, Marcy, what do you prefer? Not surprisingly, he picked the proposal that would honor and benefit this law school. So after that, after he made the decision, some of us sat down here with leadership at the law school, including then interim dean, Paul Litton, and talked about what was needed here. And lo and behold, there was a classroom that needed refurbishment. So we agreed to raise $100,000 to refurbish the classroom, and it would be named in Marcy's honor. Well, this may have been the easiest fundraising effort in the history of Mizzou Law School, and maybe the history of the entire university. All we had to do was simply mention Marcy's name, and the dollars were flowing in. So it was not difficult, it happened pretty quickly. And so as a result of that, this room, formerly 332A, will now be known and forever known, well, not forever, for generations to come, known as the Maurice B. Marcy Graham Classroom, which is a fitting tribute to Marcy, but also an honor for the law school to have a classroom named after someone who's the epitome of what a Mizzou Law School grad should be. You're clapping on my 4-minute allocation, so I need to get back on this. So one personal anecdote I'll share. Marcy's been my law partner for almost 20 years. And I just have one anecdote I'd love to share with you guys. So this was shortly after I joined Graver Graham, about 20 years ago. I came from a corporate defense firm, really didn't have any experience in personal injury litigation at all, and certainly not on the plaintiff's side. But lo and behold, one of the first cases I worked on at Graver Graham was a trucking accident case with Marcy in Western Illinois. Like many of our personal injury cases, it was a devastating injury or a wrongful death case, and the family was absolutely devastated. So Marcy and I we left at 6 o'clock in the morning from our garage there at 701 Market Street in downtown St. Louis. We drove a couple of 100 miles east. We spent a lot of time meeting with the family. We interviewed witnesses. We looked at a police report. We went to the accident scene and all the other details you take care of in the early stages of a personal injury case, which I was learning on the job at that time. And the thing that struck me most about that day was watching Marcy Graham interact with the family and the compassion and empathy he showed for that family in their time of need. It was amazing to me, something I'd never experienced in the practice of law. So after that day, we leave Eastern Illinois about 6 o'clock in the evening. We drive back to St. Louis. Marcy takes me to the garage, and as he's letting me out of the car, he looks at me with that Marcy twinkle in his eye, and he says, "Don, don't you just love what we do and how we help people who really need our help?" And that stuck with me for a long, long time. That is very illustrative of Marcy's probably favorite saying that he's given to generations of young lawyers in St. Louis at the GRG Symposium for years. And that is, clients don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Marcy's clients have never been unclear about how much he cares about them. So let me turn to the next speaker. I'd like to introduce President Moon Choi.
Thank you, Don, and thank you for the opportunity for me to address this group. And I want to be able to see Marcy as I'm speaking. First of all, it's really my great honor to honor a man that has meant so much to all of us and the University of Missouri. He is someone that I consider who is always generous with his time and resources, and always lives his life with integrity and purpose. And today we're honoring this individual who served as our friend, mentor, benefactor, and a distinguished alumni of the University of Missouri. Marcy was board chair when I began my post in March of 2017, and he was a very gentle mentor who allowed me the space to make my mistakes and find my path. And he was always there to give me guidance. And when I share stories like this with other friends that Marcy has, they all say, "You know what? He did the same thing for me." It's the very same experience. He made a promise like that to another person who was a recent graduate of this law school. His name is Avery Walker. He was very proud of Avery. And 3 years ago, he said to Avery, "Avery, I'm so proud of you. I'm gonna be at your graduation." In the intervening 3 years, Marcy has had some struggles and challenges with his health, and I'm sure he was fatigued. But he found a way to be here, to be in the front, to cheer on Avery, and that meant the world to Avery and his parents. That goes to show that Marcy's word is solid as a rock. I could have understood if Marcy said, Avery, I'm a little too fatigued to come up there. No, he was there. He was there an hour early just to make sure. That's Marcy. You know, I've often wondered what makes Marcy Marcy. He probably had very loving parents, very deeply committed teachers that allowed him to gain the foundation that made him so special. But that's not it. Marcy has something that none of us have, and that's Edna May. Edna May, we know you as The Rock, and thank you for being such a great partner for Marcy. I'm very proud to call both of you my friends, and we look forward to many, many good years of conversation, dinners, and I love seeking your insights and advice. So Marcy, thank you. Thank you so much. You know, as I look around the room, I see Chief Justice Mary Russell. Are there other Supreme Court justices here as well? But she's the Supreme Court Chief Justice. Thank you. Thank you for being here. But to show what an impact Marcy has had, I'd like to ask all of the current and former curators to stand, please. I see Curator Keith Holloway. I see former Curator Greg Hobrock, Phil Snowden, Ann Covington, former Chief Justice of the Missouri Supreme Court, Don Downing, Don Cups, and Pam Henriksen. This is an impressive group. And they all came together because of you, Marcy. So it's my great honor to be here and to announce the formal naming of this beautiful classroom that will educate generations of law students, the Maurice Marcy Graham Courtroom. Marcy, congratulations. Now it's my honor to introduce Dean Robert Bailey. Dean Bailey, please.
So Marcy asked each of us to speak no more than 3 minutes. I knew I was following Moon, and I knew that was going to go out the window. Those of you who know me know that I never prepare a speech. I just get up and I talk. But for this occasion, because Marcy's so important to me, I started writing at least 5 different speeches. And one morning, I woke up at 3 and I realized everybody else here is going to have all these, they're going to talk about the attributes and characteristics that make Marcy such a unique and wonderful human being. So I decided I was going to tell you a little bit about his life history. So I called Marcy and said, Marcy, this is what I'm going to do. And he said, that sounds good. And I said, well, tell me 2 things about you that people here aren't going to know about you that I'll include in my talk. So here's Marcy Graham. Marcy was born July 2nd, 1938 in Ironton. He was born in Ironton because there wasn't a hospital in Fredericktown. He moved back to Fredericktown, and he spent his formative years in Fredericktown. He played football at Fredericktown. He was a guard and a linebacker. When I looked at him, I said, really? And he said, I was a little heavier then. He then went to Central Methodist, where he played football again. He was a linebacker at Central Methodist. He was there for 2 years. He knew he wanted to come to law school, so he came to the University of Missouri and finished his last 2 years at the University of Missouri and then came to our law school. And he graduated from law school in 1962. And one of the things I didn't know, Marcy, is that you were president of what today we call the Student Bar Association. Then it was the Law Students Association. It was obviously the beginning of his career of leadership. He then goes back to the Schnapp Law Firm, although Scott, where are you? Scott Reed is here. Scott's back here, and so was Schnapp Reed. And he practiced there for a number of years. Also, he was the prosecuting attorney in the county. And while he was prosecuting attorney, he was introduced to a woman named Edna May, who was an elementary school teacher. And that was in 1965. They start dating. 1966, they get married. 1973, they have their son, Lee. One of Marcy's passions is football, and throughout his time in Fredericktown, he officiated football games, both high school and collegiate football games. One of the things that you probably don't know about Marcy is that in 1988, for Lee's 18th birthday, Lee wanted to go skydiving. So the two of them went, took the course, and did 2 solo skydives. Lee has continued to do it. Marcy, understanding catastrophic injuries, has not. 1995, Marcy left Fredericktown to go to St. Louis because he had this national practice. And he went with the Godfrey Padberg firm. He was there for a short while and then decided to start his own firm. He did that with Mike Murphy and with Maury Cole. And he did that for a couple of years, and then he was courted by and agreed to join forces with Gray Ritter, which of course today is Gray Ritter and Graham, which is one of the great law firms in the state of Missouri and in the Midwest. 2015, I forgot, important thing. 1988, Marcy was president of the Missouri Bar and was a great president, as you all know, those of you who know him. 2015, as President Choi has said, he joins the board of curators. He was on for 7 years. It's a 6-year term, but they didn't want to get rid of him, and the governor wouldn't appoint somebody, and so he stayed on for another 2 years. The other fact that he wanted me to tell you that he's very proud of is that for 42 years, never missing a year, he and 3 of his good friends in Fredericktown have floated the current river. He's very proud, as he well should be, and we were not surprised by that. I want to finish, and I know, Marcy, I've taken more time than I'm supposed to, but I want to finish by all the speeches I was preparing. What I wanted to tell you is that for 4 decades, I've taught students and have told them if they were going to emulate one person in the state of Missouri for their practice of law, it would be Marcy Graham. And Marcy, I always begin class with your quote about they don't care. And in fact, I have 2 plaques around campus that have that saying on because people think that I made up that saying. It isn't. It's Marcy's, and I always give them attribution. But in 2022, the Missouri Supreme Court named the award for the extraordinary service to the bar the Maurice B. Graham Award. And this is a quote from Paul Wilson, who was chief judge at that time, and I think it encapsulates very succinctly who Marcy Graham is. So I wanted to share that with you as my parting remarks. And I think, yep, it's just 4 minutes. It's my pleasure now to introduce 1977 grad of this law school, the first woman appointed to the Missouri Court of Appeals, the first woman to be appointed to the Missouri Supreme Court, a historic and fabulous attorney and representative of our state, Ann Covington.
Thank you, Dean Bailey. Good afternoon. Bob Bailey and I did not collaborate, but interesting that he should mention Fredericktown. I want to focus a little bit on Marcy Graham and change. How does a young lawyer from Fredericktown, Missouri, become president of the Missouri Bar? How does a young lawyer from Fredericktown, Missouri, become a principal, in fact, a managing principal of a law firm that incorporates now his name? How does a young lawyer from Fredericktown, Missouri, become a member of the Board of Curators of the University of Missouri system, even though it was via St. Louis? Well, I think there are a whole host of words that could be used to describe Marcy Graham, but the words that I think of to describe him, I can distill in two different ways. One is, to me, in our interactions from way back when, as a friend. He's a leader. We know in how many ways. He and I served on some committees together, and believe it or not, one of them included, maybe about 20 years ago, a committee formed by the Missouri Bar to focus on older lawyers. And we then overlapped as members of the Board of Curators for a while. But what I've observed about Marcy Graham is that he moves step by step. He doesn't insist on perfection right away, but he knows how to address a problem and do it incrementally. He learns as he goes sometimes, I think, and he's continued to do that in everything that he's done. All this time doing that, he's had the capacity to inspire and encourage others, whether it's people such as we who are sitting in this room, or many others who have been mentioned by others who are privileged to be here today. So what do I say in such a short time about this remarkable man who has by his side such a remarkable woman, Edna May, who herself has been ever so kind to me over life. And she's laughing. Just a quick sidelight, when I was a brand new judge at Missouri Court of Appeals, Edna May was first spouse. And she came and asked me, would I speak to the spouses? Well, I could hardly open my mouth to say hello, but she was my shepherd for that entire first bar meeting for me as a judge, and I can't imagine how many other people have been led and encouraged and taken care of by her. But back to Marcy. I think he's grounded by a linchpin that's composed of 4 other words that I have thought about as I have thought about today. Phrases. Work hard. Be honorable. Do you know anybody who's any more honorable and such an extraordinary gentleman? Take a chance. Marcy's taken lots of chances. Love others. So those are 4 phrases. Work hard. Marcy is always working hard. He is still working hard. Marcy has been honorable in every aspect of his life and every part of our profession. Marcy has taken lots of chances. He's still taking chances. And finally, Marcy has loved others, and he's still loving others. Those are the threads, I think, of Marcy's life, for which we have all tried to say thank you in many, many different ways. And I am sure that the loving others that I say he continues to do is felt back to you and Edna May by everybody in this room and so many other people. Thank you, Marcy. I'm so sorry, I'm always so eager to get off the podium. It is my privilege to introduce Mr. Steve Owens. Steve has served this university himself in many capacities. Not only has he been general counsel, which all of you I am sure know, and many of us have been his clients from time to time, but Steve has stepped up and at some point during the history of this place has been chancellor for a time. At another point has been president of the system for a time. He is now practicing as a counselor at the Hush Blackwell law firm, but we are most happy that he is here because he tried to keep Marcy out of trouble more times than once. Steve Owens.
Well, thank you, Your Honor. For a minute there, I thought I was a man who needs no introduction. But one of the honors that I've been fortunate enough to receive was the Outstanding Non-Alumnus Award of the law school. And I received that a few years ago, and I used that occasion to compliment the faculty on the quality of instruction that it gives the law students here. And so today, I'd like to talk again a little bit about the importance of great teachers. So I've been working in this state for over 43 years, and I thought that was a long time until I sat down with the folks in the jury box over there. But at any rate, I've been a private practitioner, general counsel to the university where Marcy was essentially my client, and a university administrator. I've been a lawyer and a client. And from these disparate perspectives, it's been my impression, in my observation, that this law school provides its students with outstanding instruction. We have great teachers here, and they teach our students not only about the law, but the practice of law. Mizzou graduates go on to be good lawyers in the state. They zealously represent their clients. They provide candor and honesty to the court and civility and respect to their fellow lawyers. When I'm on a case, I am glad when I have a Mizzou lawyer on my side. And when I don't, and there is a Mizzou lawyer on the other side, I know I'm in for a spirited but fair fight. So Dean Litton, let me thank you and all of the faculty from all of us who practice law in the state for providing us with practitioners that make the practice of law what it should be. Thank you very much. But today's particularly appropriate, I think, because we dedicate a classroom to continue the law school's mission of teaching future lawyers for the state. And it's fitting to be named after one of the best teachers I know, Marcy Graham. Marcy, you have been a teacher, a mentor, and a role model to countless law students and practitioners, including me. You have taught us how to move intellect to practical and workable solutions. You have shown us how to prepare for the worst while remaining positive for the best, and you are the most positive thinking person I've ever met. You have repeatedly demonstrated how to be civil and respectful, even in the most challenging circumstances. You have shown us how to prioritize faith and family and service in our lives. And you have taught me and many others what it means to be a good friend. Simply put, you have taught us. You have taught us how to be good lawyers and good people. So it's so appropriate that we're naming a classroom for teaching after such a great teacher. a teacher who has taught in the classroom, but whose teachings transcend the walls of this building. Marcy, thank you so much for all your meaningful contributions to the state, to the university, to the law school, and to me. And congratulations on this deserving recognition. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Mike Murphy. Mike is a double tiger, receiving both his undergraduate and law degrees from the university. He's currently with Spencer Fain, where he's a partner, and he's also serves as the managing partner of the Cape Girardeau office. And when I talked to him earlier this week, he asked that he be introduced as, quote, a guy who had the good fortune to begin his legal career as an associate working with Marcy Graham. Mike?
Is it bad that I had flashbacks of Professor Devine overruling my objections in trial practice as I stood over there? You know, it's my turn to talk, and really I want to talk about the best advice that I ever received. And I know that some of you are thinking, well, Murphy's going to talk about some great advice that he was given by Marcy Graham, and there's certainly been plenty of that through the years. But actually, as we're here to talk about the law school too, I want to talk about the best advice I ever received about Marcy Graham. When I was a third year here at the law school, I was really struggling with, the job decision. Did I want to go big firm or small firm, or practice in an urban area or in a smaller city, smaller town? Did I want to do a judicial clerkship? Where did my wife and I want to start and raise our family? So I was wrestling with all of that stuff, and I went to see Dean Tim Hines, the dean at the time, and many of you know Dean Hines, knew Dean Hines, and he was perhaps the nicest human being that you would ever meet. I mean, he sat down with me to talk it through, and the first thing that he did as the dean was he took the time to listen, and he was a great listener. And we talked about it, and at the end of that conversation, Dean Hines said, Mike, I'm going to give you the same advice that I was given when I was in your shoes, and that is pick the very best mentor that you can find. And at that point, my decision became really easy. I would go back to Southeast Missouri. I would practice with Marcy in the law firm of Schnapp, Graham, Reed, and Fulton. Great lawyers, great experience. But little did I know that I was not just getting a mentor for the practice of law. I was getting a mentor for life. And that was not only for me, but it was for my entire family. And frankly, it wasn't just Marcy. Edna Mae has been a tremendous mentor for my wife, Linda, and it extends even to our children, who to this day will tell you, they're young adults now, they will tell you that their favorite day of the holiday season every year is when we come to St. Louis and spend it with the Grahams. And I'll tell you, the mentorship is so outstanding. Dr. Choi talked about it. I'll tell you, to this day, I find myself doing and saying things that I heard and learned from Marcy Graham 25 years ago. But in true Marcy form, he didn't want us to talk about him. He wanted to talk about what the law school means to us. And for me, that is mentorship. Dean Hines was a great mentor. Dean Bailey's been a great mentor. All the faculty members were such great mentors, and it was such a great experience. So I'm grateful for those. I'm grateful for that mentoring. I'm grateful for the mentors that I've had in practice. And most of all, I'm grateful for the mentors that Marcy and Edna Mae have been to me and to my family. I thank you for that, and I'm grateful to be up here today. So I get to introduce Don Cups. I know he's well known to the folks in this room. Don is the senior partner at Ellis Cups and Heron down in Cassville. He was a longtime member of the Board of Curators where he served with Marcy, and I know that he is a dear friend of the Grahams.
No, I'm not sure why this happened, but I heard all the previous speakers get up and said they had 4 minutes. Well, Marcy called me and said I had 3 minutes. So I don't know what that means. We're here at our law school to honor Marcy Graham for his career, his accomplishments, and his public service. But most of us are here because he's our friend. He and Edna Mae are friends and have expressed friendship to all of us over the years. Marcy and Edna Mae are, as Mark Twain described, those rare people who ask how you are and then wait to hear your answer. I found a quote which I believe describes the life of Marcy and Edna Mae. I don't know where this quote came from, but when I was trying to think of what I should say, I thought about the great friendship that the great friends they are to all of us. In the currency of life, friendship is the most valuable investment you can make. Marcy and Edna Mae are billionaires because they have, for our lives, made deposits. They've deposited in us kindness, encouragement, support, and generosity. Though I don't get to talk to Marcy as often as I did, he's one of the first people I call if I'm ever discouraged. I call Marcy, we'll talk for 20 minutes, and at the end of the conversation, I feel better. I feel encouraged, and his optimism is contagious. Everyone that's involved in a project with Marcy Graham comes away enthusiastic. For your friends, Marcy, you have put life's problems in perspective. You let us know there are things more important than the minor things that we face. Mary and I want to thank you and Edna Mae for being our friends. But also, I want to thank you on behalf of everyone here for being a friend to all of us. Thank you. I would like to introduce one of Marcy's great friends, Dudley McCarter.
You know, I played some Little League baseball when I was younger, and I quickly learned that you put the weakest hitter near the end of the lineup. And that guy was me. That's why I knew it. So I'm the weakest hitter in this all-star lineup, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. Marcy instructed us to say something about the law school, because we're here to celebrate the law school. This law school has been educating lawyers for 151 years. Pretty good. Pretty doggone good. I haven't done an empirical study of this, but I think I'm confident in telling you this law school has produced more governors, more senators, more congressmen and women, more judges than any other law school in the state. And of course, it's produced some outstanding lawyers also. So Marcy is so proud to be a lawyer, prouder than anyone I know. He takes such great pride, as I think Don mentioned, in representing clients in times of need. And there is no one who is prouder of this law school than Marcy Graham. And he's been an inspiration to me, probably everyone here, and thousands of people he doesn't even know. That's how inspirational he is. I called a number of people and talked to a number of people who know Marcy, and I said, give me the first couple of words that pop into your mind when I say Marcy Graham. I heard brilliant, compassion, kindness, generosity, but the word that kept coming to the top was integrity. Beyond question. The guy with the most integrity I know. And I was thinking about the courses that could be taught in Marcy's classroom. And of course, he knows every aspect of the law, so you could teach anything there. But I started circling around and thinking, well, evidence would be good, trial practice would be good, but then it dawned on me. The best course to teach in his classroom is ethics and professionalism, because he's a model of that. So, Marcy, I'm so proud of you. My wife and kids love you and me more than you know. So, we're all here to celebrate this law school and Marcy Graham, who we're so proud of. Congratulations, Marcy. And I get to introduce Maury Cole. Maury doesn't know this, but Marcy and Edna Mae first started telling me about Maury Cole when he was about 15. And I remember Marcy saying to me, you know, Maury's going to be a great lawyer someday. I don't know if you knew that, but you were 15 and Marcy and Edna Mae were telling me, you're going to be a great lawyer. Well, you are. Lon Hocker Award winner, president of the Missouri Bar, outstanding lawyer, and a great person, Maury Cole.
Well, for a number 8-hole hitter, I'd give Dudley a stand-up triple. For 25 years, I've worked with Mr. Graham, for Mr. Graham. Only 2 people, I think, have ever worked with him longer. That'd be Jerry Snapp and John Reed, both MU law grads. And I talked to Mr. Graham about some of the things that Jerry Snapp and John Reed talked to him about when he was starting out. And the theme, and they said it different ways, but the theme was always along the lines of, if you do the right thing for the right reasons, it almost always turns out right. And that's true of Morris and Edna Mae. You see, they didn't set out to be the best. They set out to do the best they could. It just happens that the best that they can do is the best. You see it in the immaculately pressed shirts. You see it in the calligraphy when you're honored with one of Edna Mae's handwritten notes. You see it in everything they do. I'm going to tell you a small secret about Mr. Graham that you may not know. In his lower right-hand desk drawer, there is a shoe shine kit. Caused me to shine mine. What I'm about to tell you caused me to shine mine at 5 this morning. He never made a court appearance without touching up his shoes. They were always shined, but he shined them before he went to court. Not because of what some people might think, vanity. Nope. He shined them because he intended when he went to that court to honor it and leave it better than he found it. And that was one of the many details that was attended to. It just happened to be the last one before he walked out the door to make his appearance. It was a deliberate act of esteem to the court. Leave it better than I found it. A small favor done so many times for all of us and too many more to count. Not to be owed a favor, but to leave someone in a better position than he found them. A small gesture, a note, an early arrival, a call of encouragement, not to be owed a gesture, but to improve someone else's day, to improve their situation, to show true appreciation or true professionalism. To be sure, his incremental acts many times lead to tremendous positive influence and tangible results. For those on the receiving end of his litigation efforts, those small efforts add up over a multi-year litigation until you're surmounted with an overpowering mountain of evidence and persuasion that you will never be able to fight back. The accumulation of these individual efforts has led to helping others achieve goals and helping clients achieve results that they never thought they could achieve. Which leads to another thing that I've heard him say so many times, so many different ways. I'll say it this way. If you help those around you achieve and accomplish what they want, you will have everything that you want. So whether a client, a family member, a friend, a stranger, a new lawyer, a charitable or artistic board, our Missouri Bar, MU, the law school, or you, each of you, he has helped us have what we want and has left us better than he found us. So, I think that may be why all of us wanted to be here. Actually, I think that may be why none of us would have missed this day. Please be sure to continue our celebration today up in room 332 after this, but more importantly, please join me in welcoming Mr. Graham to make a few comments.
Boy, if you think this is not tough, you don't understand. I'll apologize. Most of you know that I'm dealing with some health issues, and it affects my voice. But I'll do the best I can. But you know, this is a special day for so many reasons to be in this building. But I want to turn back for you 35 years to 1988. I was in this building in September of 1988. Keith Burks, you were with me when this building was dedicated. It was a football weekend, September the 25th, and the dedication of this building was on a Sunday, tied in with the football weekend. We had played Indiana University the day before, and it was a 28-28 tie. You don't have ties with the NCAA anymore. That was a big day because, as Maury had alluded to, Dudley mentioned also, there was 117 years before this building that was dedicated that day existed. There was 117 years in which the University of Missouri did not have an adequate building in which to teach law. Those of us who were in Tate know that it was inadequate. So this building has had a 35-year existence. And more importantly, I know that today is about the naming of a room, but I see a day like today as something broader than that. It's about what goes on in this building and what goes on in these rooms. And I can tell you, as you've heard, from other speakers today, and Dean Litton knows this, that this is a great law school, and we have great professors who are teaching, and we have great students who are learning, and we have great professors who are inspiring these students, and we have great students who are inspired about their future because of their being a law student at the University of Missouri. And it was mentioned earlier about the graduation in May where I came to see Avery, who had been a student curator, and I got to know him. But Dean Litton talked at the graduation about what the students who are graduating from our law school here, similar to law school graduates of other good law schools, are doing. They're going out into the world and doing so many different things. I mean, the day when I was a graduate, along with some of the other, not many lawyers here my age, but some of the other older lawyers, you know, you went into practice and kind of made it from there. But now lawyers are going to corporate positions, to government, to foreign countries. In fact, this university, insofar as law graduates, has a lawyer in every single county of this state. There's a Mizzou law graduate in every single state. There's a Mizzou law graduate in 23 foreign countries. So the practice of law is so much different than it was when, Don, you and I were a bit younger. But what I want to say is the importance of what goes on in these rooms, because students are learning and they're going to go out into the world, and they can make sure that the American system of justice stays healthy. They can make sure that they become an important member of our society, because it's remarkable how lawyers make up a high percentage of school boards, hospital boards, the boards that exist in all of our communities to make sure that the society in that community is healthy also. So I think if I ask every lawyer who's here today, and there's a bunch, if you had a message to give to a law school graduate today, what would it be? I think many would agree with me. Go and make a difference. Make a difference. Thank you.
Edna may I ask you to join us? We have a special presentation. Yes, please have a seat. Desiree Reed-Francois, our AD, please come up. Provost Latha Ramchan, please come up as well. Thank you again for all of the speakers that provided insights into what makes Marcy so special. And Marcy, thank you for those beautiful words. And I know that the many students who are here today are going to take the important lessons that you provided through your life. We also have Interim President Michael Middleton here. I didn't see you before, but thank you for being here. And Professor Firemuth is already standing, so stay standing. But if I may ask the law faculty to stand. Thank you for being here. I see a number of our distinguished faculty here. Thank you so much. And current law students, if you're here, please stand. Or wasn't that inspiring, students? Something to live for? That's wonderful. Well, until I heard Professor Bailey's speech, I didn't know that Marcy played linebacker. And I just happened to be carrying around the shirt in my pocket, so we're gonna present that to him. Okay? Can you hold that, Marcy? LD Zoo. Once a Mizzou lawyer, always a Mizzou lawyer, and once a linebacker, always a linebacker. Marcy, thank you. Edna Mae, thank you so much.